Welcome, everyone. My name is Leslie Timble. This is Mental Iron Podcast with Kenny Lee. We're going to be talking about obsessive compulsive disorder. Thank you for joining me today, Kenny.
Thanks for having me on.
So, Kenny, can you let the audience know how you and I started chatting?
Well, when you originally did your first podcast with Dave Palumbo and RX Muscle on iron therapy, your first show, you gave your contact information. I reached out to you to see if we could possibly work together in the future, and now here we are.
And I'm glad you joined me.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
So because our topic is obsessive compulsive disorder, Kenny, I want you to let the audience know what makes you think that you have some obsessive compulsive tendencies.
Well, I can't walk over a piece of paper on the ground without picking it up. Like, it's more of a neatness thing with me. I know that, I'm fastidious about my appearance. That's one. But I know that for me, another thing is like making sure things are neat on tables, like stacked up correctly. Like, I'll take time out if I see something that's disorganized or something, like I have to straighten it out.
Okay. Does that ever stop you from going out, let's say, if you have an appointment or you want to just take a walk? Does it prevent you from leaving the house sometimes, or at least on a timely manner?
It'll prevent me because it will make me late for things if I'm running late, and like I'll have to stop and straighten something out before I can even leave.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do you recall when that first began, Kenny? The tidiness piece?
I would say early 20s.
Okay.
It didn't happen to me until I was in my early 20s for some reason.
That's not unusual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you noticed these kind of tendency also in your work life?
Oh, absolutely. Like when I'm at work, like everything, I can't, if something's on, like I said, if something's on the floor, I have to pick it up, sweep it up, so, yeah.
Well, from a work perspective, we want to keep a tidy work environment. But would it stop you, let's say, from making it to a meeting on time, let's say?
I wouldn't say it wouldn't have that much of an effect. As far as getting out of my own place, maybe late before, but if I'm already out, no, it seems that there's other things. It seems if I'm isolated, and then I have an easier tendency to focus on that. Whereas if I'm out and
Okay, Kevin, your phone is just cut out for a second. Can you repeat that last part?
I would say if I'm alone, it affects me more than if I'm like out and I'm at work and there's other things going on around.
Now, when you're at home and there's other people around, do you notice that you do it more often or less often?
Probably less.
Okay.
More when isolated alone. When I'm by myself.
So it's a pattern.
Yeah.
Have you ever spoken to anyone about this before? So a professional?
No. Because I already my primary thing is major depression. So that's like the OCD is like a secondary condition, more or less. It's not primary. It's not the most prevalent thing with me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more of a secondary. But
and certainly we'll be doing episodes on depression as well. I think that's a really important topic. So I'm not trying to ignore it, but I'm saying for the sake of this episode, we're going to focus on the OCD piece.
Right.
But we might have you back for the depression one, so that's fine too.
Right.
Actually, I should probably do a YouTube live channel and have a bunch of people join, because I think a lot of people could benefit from that.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's fantastic because nobody's really talked about any of these situations that arise when you're fitness people, or we think altogether differently. So, and then to be plagued by certain mental disorders, it's more difficult, you know.
And there's a lot of shame, or at least the clients I've worked with, there's a lot of shame. So we can talk about it, let's say, maybe in the locker room or with a good buddy or something like that. But we don't really talk as a community outwardly as much,
Right.
and that's kind of why I started Mental Iron and Iron Therapy, is not just talk about it, but I want to give people some beginning strategies and letting them know there's people like myself who can help. You don't have to suffer alone with this.
Right.
Whether it's OCD, whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety, regardless of what it is, you don't have to be alone. And, it's hard to know who to go to.
Sure. No, absolutely. I think it's important to talk to somebody, seek help with different behavioral disorders, because everybody's in the DSM, right? So
in some respect or another, absolutely. I know I'm in there.
We're all suffering from something, but
For sure.
To it. So, whether people want to realize it or not, it's something that I think people should definitely focus on and look into, that if they want to have good mental health.
Absolutely. So let's go back to the OCD. I want to go back to the pattern that you've noticed just in your home life and your work life. And you're not alone in this. And this is why I want to point this out, and especially in this podcast, and to yourself as well, Kenny, is that a lot of times the obsessive, just so people, if they haven't seen the episode, obsessive OCD, I'm referring to as obsessive compulsive disorder. And what that is characterized as by obsessive thoughts and of anxiety of certain kind of natures. And the only way we can stop that anxiety or try to manage it in our minds when we have OCD is to do these compulsive behaviors. So what you were saying, Kenny, is that the tidy, the cleaning thing, and that is exacerbated when you're alone. So I want you to understand, and I want other people who are watching this to understand why that can be, is that when we're distracted, and again, I'm going to focus more on OCD right now. When we're distracted, we're not focusing on our anxiety, whatever it is. We're focusing on other things. So whether that be emails, it might be, let's say if you're at the gym, you're working on your set. Like it's more that, or you're working on your mind muscle connection. You're working on your cardio. You're working on watching a podcast. You're doing something, but you're not, necessarily focusing on that particular anxiety. So when you're around people, they can help you stay distracted. When we're distracted, we don't have to go into our minds. When we're left alone, so when let's say if you come home from work and your girlfriend's not home yet, or even at night before you go to bed, it's more quiet time. That's when a lot of behaviors can escalate too. Can happen in the morning too, but we're creatures of habit. And what can happen is that we do things over and over again. And if you get in the habit of stressing at certain times of the day, guess what? Even if people are around, they can come up too. It's just a little harder because we're distracted by other kinds of things. I'll do a separate podcast on phobias, but that's a big thing with phobias too. Anxiety is such a huge umbrella topic. OCD is just one little umbrella, it's one little aspect of that umbrella of anxiety. So, it's about saying, okay, when you're distracted, you're able to not focus. That way you don't have to fix it. Think of it almost like, it's almost like an emotional pacifier. If anxiety is the, that urge that we, to self-soothe, we need that pacifier to self-soothe. We need to do that behavior. In this case, let's say that the tidying, the cleaning, because it will bug us. Like you said, you can't walk by. It will just bug you. And it's like, I just got to pick it up.
There's no leaving it alone. Like it has to be addressed.
And it doesn't mean when you're around, let's say you're...
It's not that, there's worse things that I just suffer from. But...
For sure. But the thing is, what it can do is that, even if it's not preventing you from working. It's not like, you can't still function or you're not going to meetings late,
No, I'm thankful that I don't have it. I mean, I know there's varying degrees of it, and I don't have it to the point where it's like debilitating or it's really encroaching in other areas of my life, but it's I mean, it's made me, I've had to go back and be like, did I put that a certain way? And I've like been down the street and come back to my place to go inside to make sure, oh, this is now going to make me late.
Now, you see, when it goes to that extent, we can talk about some behavior modifications on how to adjust that. But before we go there, I just want to touch upon, I don't want to also give the people the impression that just because you're around people doesn't mean you're not going to do it at all. In fact, it can drive people around us crazy.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Do you have any examples of that in your life, though, Kenny, where it's affected people, whether it be coworkers or people that you know?
Fiance, I mean, not so much coworkers because it's more beneficial. You know what I mean? Like, it's one less thing that somebody else has to pick up.
True. Yeah.
In my business, in the restaurant industry, but it's driven my girlfriend a little crazy. Yeah.
What's the number one pet peeve that she finds that you do?
Breathe.
Other than breathing.
It'll be like it'll be the way I arrange stuff on, like, it could be anything. My keys, my wallet. If I'll leave it a certain way, that'll drive her crazy. It's little stupid stuff.
So here's the thing. People with OCD usually are aware that what they're doing. Yeah.
It's like, it's two different people that see, that obsess about, like it's like, don't touch her work desk, things like that. You forget it. I know better. So, if there's something on where she works at, forget it. Like, she's got her pen set up a certain way, the pads, the everything. She's probably worse with it than I am, actually. Yeah.
And again, I don't want people to think that just because if you do have any kind of obsessive thoughts or compulsions like this, it's the end of the world. It's not. A lot of people can function very well in it. We're just trying to say, can we fine tune it so it's not as disruptive to your daily routines?
I try to laugh at myself with it. I try to laugh at myself.
And it's important to laugh, but I also want to give you some, at least one technique that I want you to try, and as well as the audience. So pick one compulsion that you do. So again, that's the behavior that you do that you'd be willing to work on.
All right. So it would probably be, not having to pick up everything on the ground all the time.
Okay. So in a given day, can you even guesstimate how many times you would pick something up?
Over 100.
Okay.
Depends on the day, but I mean, it could be 80 to 100 times a day.
Okay. So this is what I would give you.
I'm not going to do it walking down the street. I mean, I primarily do it at home and at work, but I mean, there's other people at work that are paid to do this. I'm not going to wait around for them to do it.
Okay. If it's a matter of safety and something needs to be cleaned up, otherwise someone's going to flip on the floor, that's a different story. So I want you, okay. So starting tomorrow, are you working tomorrow? Okay. You ready to start this homework assignment? So your homework assignment starting tomorrow, Kenny, is I want you to be aware, and I want you to pick 5 times in your work life and in your home life that you're not going to pick something up. You're going to resist the urge. You're going to fight me on this. I understand. And I don't mean me personally, but the thought.
Right.
But I want you to replace it with something else. Because if I just say, it's kind of like telling someone that's having a hard time smoking, well, just don't smoke. Well, it's not quite that easy. I understand there's going to be that small population that can go cold turkey, and I understand that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, let's replace it with something other than something that's a compulsive, behavior. So again, the compulsions are behaviors, the obsessions are thoughts. So we want to manage the thoughts by thinking, what is the worst case scenario if you do not pick that, whatever that object is up?
Right.
Five, just if it's 100 times tomorrow, 5 times out of 100, what's the worst case scenario that would happen?
Absolutely nothing. What's the worst case scenario? Nothing would happen. I mean, for the most part, it's not like life or death here, you know?
So it's just something that would bug you then.
Bug me. Yeah, it would just bug me. It's something that I just have to, step over and keep it moving.
So the way you distract yourself is, this is number one. I want you to count in your head, which one is this? Number one, and might make a little tick or something, or put it on your phone if you're outside or whatever, to keep track of the 5 that you do not do in your home life and the 5 that you don't do in your work life starting tomorrow. And I want you to do that every day. Okay? And then when you have the it's going to bug me, I want you to redirect your focus to where you are going to go. So if you're at work and you are walking to your desk, I want you to focus on an email that you were expecting or a task that you had to do. Redirect your thought onto what you need to work on. Now, if you're at home, whether it's, hey, I need to speak to my fiance, hey, I'm going to, eat something, or I have to get ready for my workout, I need you to kind of redirect your focus on what you were going to do after that, after you pick that thing up.
Okay, I understand.
Because if we don't replace the thought with something else,
That's a good exercise.
It's going to keep going.
Absolutely.
And then over time, I would want you to increase that from 5 to 10. But start with 5 tomorrow. Again, 5 in your personal life, 5 in your work life. And if you want to do more, that's fine. But start with 5. It's going to be hard in the beginning. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be really hard.
Okay. And I see what you're doing, slowly chipping away at the compulsion.
Again, we're just replacing it with what you were going to do next anyway.
Right.
And again, what this addresses is the anxiety that if I don't do this, it's not going to get done. I mean, it would get done. It's just not going to get done in a timely manner.
Gotcha.
Okay? And it's to say, okay, it's not going to get done in a timely manner. It's like, if that's the worst case scenario, then that's not too bad.
It's not too bad, right? It should be the worst thing that happens.
And if there are people out there with examples where the worst case scenario is something really serious, then, let's talk about it. I'm going to be doing some live streams on YouTube. So subscribe to my YouTube channel and you will see me on lives.
I'm already subscribed on there.
Cool.
I'm already on there.
Awesome. So for anyone else that's watching, certainly if you subscribe and do YouTube, hit me up on there on the live and ask me a question. I can answer it for you, because I appreciate not all the worst case scenarios are going to be as tame as it just bugs me. There's going to be some real dangers that could be involved, and I want to be able to address those particular situations. So guys, feel free to ask me those questions on my live, okay?
Sure.
So Kenny, how do you feel about that homework piece?
Oh, I think that's a great idea. That's a great idea to break up some of the habits of that.
Okay. And then maybe touch base with me after a few days. Touch base with me and let me know how it goes.
I'll text you by Friday.
Sounds
I'm
good.
off again Friday, so I'll shoot you a text then, and I'll let you know how it goes.
Perfect.
All right.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me today, Kenny, for taking the time of your day. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime, Leslie. We'll talk by the end of the week.
I look forward to it, and good luck with your homework.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Bye for now.